Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Tracker. It
Good morning,
is
Mattsby.
the 13th, Monday the 13th, and markets don't seem to be too happy this morning.
Well, sometimes when they start off dour, that's when you could possibly get that opening reversal, right? We like the opening reversal, especially if you look at a
Yeah.
chart and you see like if you saw a gap down uh, in pre-market, then like to try to fill those gaps sometimes when the market opens.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. But I think the way things closed on Friday was kind of telling the story that things wanted to go a little bit lower this week, right? Or at least today, right? So it essentially is looking like, I mean, I can just jump right into it. Maybe I'm a little bit early, but this is recorded. People can go back and catch up. But yeah, the way they closed the IWM on Friday, it was below levels, right? So this was a perfect setup for the weekly chart here for IWM to maybe even go a little bit lower, right? Maybe even go back down and retest the 50-week moving average. Guess what? For the first time since it broke out for the first time. So since when is that a bearish scenario of after it broke out? It didn't touch it here. It touched the 200, but it didn't touch the 50. But now it has the opportunity finally to touch it. So that is around 212.96. And then you got 212.83 with that 618 fib right below it. So this was a perfect setup of how they closed the candle on Friday to send it lower. So that is one example there. SPY. When we go to this chart here, guess what? Same situation. They closed it below the 585, so this was a perfect reason to send things lower pre-market right now. And we can see that the possibility to even go a little bit lower is still there too. And even maybe a lot lower is still possible too. Like, because the baseline is still down there at 559. So this is still a potential to go down there to make a higher low, right? So we don't know how deep it's going to be, but it was the first weekly candle close below this 585 that I've been talking about for months, and that was the reason, the perfect setup for things to go lower this morning. So am I thinking there's going to be a reversal right away? Well, we can go to the daily chart and look right here, and the daily chart shows like the 200 days way down there at 555. So maybe not, right? Maybe not an immediate recovery right away because of the way things close. So now what we're looking like is this 585 is probably going to be your short-term resistance. So anytime price comes back up, it could get sold off, and then now price might wait for enough time to just gravitate towards the cloud down here for its higher low. But we've seen this multiple times, right? We've seen it many, many times before. Basically, right here for a couple of weeks, right? We saw it go down lower. We saw it here. We saw here was like a couple months back in July and August before it sent to higher. So it's just the lull before another breakout. That's all it is. But nothing has changed
Yeah.
on the charts at all. Nothing.
On your nice clean chart right there, if you look back in 2024 in like March, April, that red candle. So basically, we're looking for one or two likelihoods. Either it just wicks through the conversion line like it did back there in April, and then goes right back up again on top of it, or we get more like what happened on August 5th, where it dropped through the baseline as well.
Yeah.
So either we're doing the wick through the conversion line now and it gets back over it, or we could get the scare. I mean, August 5th was pretty extreme,
Yeah, that was very
and
extreme.
but usually once you get one of those, you don't have to have one for a while. So I'm hoping we just it's a little scary wick through the conversion line and then back on top of it again.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if it stays long enough under this 585 right here, then I think it's just going to be a temporary resistance for maybe some weeks, perhaps even some months.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. We'll day 1 week at a time. But this is why I always wait for confirmation. And this was the confirmation for things that wanted to go lower, right? Because it was holding this for a long time and it finally closed lower. So this is why we're seeing this gap down this morning. And then on the QQQ, sorry, yeah, the QQQ here, we can see it's almost back down to some support, right? We can see it's at 502 pre-market, and the 1.414 fib is at 497, which was a previous resistance, maybe flip to support. So it's almost there, right? Almost down to that 497 level. So this is looking like almost at support. So perhaps IWM and QQQ are pretty close to support, but maybe SPY might not be ready to recover yet. So could this be some kind of a rotation coming soon when Trump's inauguration? It could be, right? Maybe there's some outperformance with IWM or with QQQ compared to the SPY. So we'll take it 1 week at a time. But the important thing is IWM and QQQ, they're still holding their supports, and even IWM is really close to its 50-week moving average, where no other indices is. So I think IWM is closer to a bottom than everything else, really. When you look at this chart, it's closer to a bottom than anything else, and it's closer to the cloud too. So this is looking like potential to be a good opportunity for IWM for its higher low area right here.
Yeah, let's see. Can I tackle this Palantir support?
Yeah. Actually,
So I
wanted to do Bitcoin first, just because
that
was the next thing.
Let's do it in order.
Yeah.
Don't let me jump around.
Yeah, so Bitcoin, it was an obvious thing too. So the conversion line 98,878 right up here is the conversion line. So it opened the first candle below it. So this was kind of an obvious thing for them to send it right back down to support as well. And that's what they did exactly like less than an hour ago, right? It was below 91,158 for the first time, actually, since it really broke out. So this is still your support. Really, nothing has changed with Bitcoin, because they opened it high, and now they have a whole week to even send it lower if they wanted to, just to maybe try to close it back above on Sunday. So still, there's nothing broken on Bitcoin. This still has the potential to be your support zone. But if not, they might send it lower down to the 1.272, the 83, or even this degree angle down here. So I'm watching this zone completely as support, but I still think this has a good chance of holding as support, the 91,158 as your support. So we'll see. Maybe that was just the liquidity grab needed, but I was expecting maybe into the 80s to get there, but it did not get there. It got only down to 90,200. But maybe they will want to send it down into the high 80s to grab that liquidity. I'm not sure. But either way, I'm still expecting, I'm looking forward to a close next Sunday above this 91,158.
Oh, man, that'd be great. Yeah, you know, there are a whole bunch of people that were saying that Bitcoin wanted to see 88,000, and like, no, I think it'll be good, but I guess this week will tell.
Yeah, this will be the week of knowing.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's see. Okay, well, I did pull my Palantir chart out here for two people are asking. One person's asking, what's the next support of Palantir? Another one's Benny's asking, where next for Palantir? What I did was I pulled this Mattsby fib retracement here off of this low of 4103 to this high of 8488. Where we wicked through. Let's actually, I guess I need to reverse it to see the downward angle. Second. So towards this 4103 so far, it's just made the 382 retracement. It kind of went 236, 11.4, 382. It hasn't reached the 50% level. When a stock is in, if I was going to treat this as 5 waves up and this was a full ABC retracement, there's 2 ways it can go, either all the way down to 618, or if it's really bullish, it just touches the 50% and goes again. So I would love it if it's going to go not saying it has to go any lower than it already has, but if it went any lower, I would definitely want to start buying more at 62.96. And if it drops below that, then look to 57.78. And of course, you can see these are weekly candlesticks. The weekly baseline is all the way down here at about 52.92. And then on the converse, if I flip this back up, going from this 4103 low, that 78.6 level, see how it closed this candle here and it tried to close, well, it did close this candle above it after wicking through it. And then it just couldn't get higher Once it dropped through this 78.6 level, that's when we are starting to get the liquidity grab, and it's just going to, the way I see it, it's going to try as low as it can go to get as many cheap shares here as possible. And then once it gets back over 75.50 again, then it's going to start heading to the next level, which for me is still $114.14. Here's my 764 back to $382.91. I just have to pull all this out is the thing. But yeah, this new Palantir chart goes up to $211 for me now. But it just has to get through this little hurdle first. And that's it. That's my Palantir. So, be a buyer anywhere down to 62.96. And then after that, look for it to just test over 100 again and maybe run as far as 114.
Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
I have a Palantir if you're done.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. So yeah, here's my Palantir. I'm focusing on the daily chart now because it did close the day on Friday above the 50, but it was still kind of above the cloud, and that could be where it might be going, right? Maybe down to what Tracker was saying, maybe the 62s, or maybe even like the 61, the 1.414, the 6118. So there is a lot of confluence in this zone in the next couple of days down to the 61, but I think there's a good chance of that holding. And I'm not selling any of this or taking any profits. And I've been through this rodeo before, right? It's fine. Like even back here in July, I was holding it at 30 and it went down back to 21. Does it bother me? No, because the long-term trend is still higher. And I think it's still going to go to the 90s, to the hundreds and higher, right? So I'm not worried about this at all. And my focus is just maintaining above the $60 range. That's basically it. So.
Very cool. Hey, a quick question to Nicholas, who says that Bitcoin's touching the 75 moving average on the daily. Is that an exponential moving average? Because my SMA, we're already below that on the daily.
It might be.
Just to let me know.
Yeah, I'm not.
Here's my Bitcoin daily chart, and it did wick through it on Thursday, and then kind of lost it overnight, or through yesterday. Anyway, yeah, we're just in this daily cloud for Bitcoin, but just like a lot of the stocks are all trying to get, I think see as low as they can get before they break out and run up again. I just bought some more XRP this morning. I was telling Matt. I got really happy this weekend. This is an 8-hour chart. Let's go to a weekly chart. I was getting really happy this weekend with my XRP holding. And then it just dipped down. This isn't close enough. 4 hours. And it dipped down again. It's like, oh, it's just going to make another liquidity grab before it runs up because it was looking really strong right. You do the 1 hour right through here. When I saw price just going sideways for a while, it's like, oh, I wanted to go up, but it went down for liquidity grab, and then I pulled on these fibs again. Is it going to be the right direction? Nope, the other way. So from the low we just struck to this high right here, look for the 78.6% fib retracement level going back towards the top. Once we get over $2.54, you can see it was, support, resistance. One last grab at resistance, couldn't get over it, back down. Once it gets over 254 again, I think this thing will start to run again. So I made one last cash purchase of XRP down here because I'm expecting to see it double next. That's it. I'm really happy about being able to buy XRP at this price now again.
Yeah, and I see the comment there about Tom Lee is expecting 70,000 or maybe even 50,000 for Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, I don't see that at all. But I do think the 80s are possible right now because there's a lot of confluence in that zone. But it's gotta really start closing weekly candles below that 91,000 level. And then if that starts closing multiple weeks below, then we can talk about lower levels. But until then, like I want to see what the indices did, right? The indices closed below levels last Friday, so that's why we saw a gap lower today. But so far, Bitcoin is still holding its level while the indices closed underneath their supports on Friday. So I can't really assume lower because Bitcoin is still holding its support zone, even though it did go below it a little bit today, all right? And it has potential to still go below those numbers that we saw into the high 80s because of a liquidity grab. And it's the beginning of the week for Bitcoin, and they can send it to anywhere, price anywhere, and it can recover fine by Sunday. So we can just take it one day, 1 week at a time, and until that changes, yeah, we'll just stay on the path of 91,000 is support until proven otherwise.
This takes me back to a follower of mine from a long time ago who said that she did so well, she would sell on Fridays and then just buy back on Mondays. And I can see exactly how that works out because the market struggles to get whatever target whatever they need to support level they need it on Friday. And then Monday they can wick it all the way back down if they want. So every like Mondays and like first days of the month and first months of the year, first weeks of the year, look out for Mr. Market just trying to knock things down as low as they can go, and then watch it spring back up after that. Speaking of which, here's Coinbase. I just want to show you my larger degree chart here. These are weekly candlesticks. So from this low of $31.55 back here in January of 2023 to this high up here, it had like an aftermarket pre-market high of 288.35, and then back down to 146.12. My fib extensions go like yeah, and it did from this bottom, went right to the 764, and then look, and it went right back to the 382. In fact, it hasn't even. This is the closest we got. December 30th, it almost touched. Let's see, maybe in the 8-hour candlestick. December 30th. Let's take a look. December 30th. No, it never actually touched the 382 of 244.22. Got very close. Back to the weekly chart. And so now we're just stuck between my 764 and this 382. Once it gets over the 764, it can head on to my next target of 501, which is the 1382. So just keep this Coinbase. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this. I'll even pull it down a little bit, and you can see my wave 5 top target. If things go really bullishly for coin, these are basically the market physics of the fastest it can go up, and like this would be the fastest path it could take. This 1382 100%, and then 2382 next. There is the potential of a 2618, but I haven't seen that one in many years now. So let's just take it one decade at a time, or 1 year at a time. But yeah, Coinbase, it's just holding its support. You can see the baseline is also right down here, just above that 382, which is where it kept wicking to. So I like the way Coinbase looks right now. I'm sure Matt will tell you the same.
Yeah, so let me just go to my Coinbase chart. So nothing has changed for the past couple of weeks. It's still, the 245.66 is really always the target to stay around, right? So that's the 786, and that's exactly where it's going this morning. And even if it doesn't hold there, still is a lot of support below in the 230s here, 220s. This is just a beautiful setup, in my opinion, for price to eventually go higher. And these are the opportunities that I have taken advantage of numerous times before. Like I was a buyer back here in the 160s and 180s, and that paid off well, right? So I was also a buyer way down here too, but this is really nothing scary to me, right? Because it's holding the symmetry perfectly. It's holding the 45. It's holding on top of the cloud. It's still even above the 786, even after all this fear, right? But this whole zone, I'll just draw like a little oval here. This whole zone is looking nice, right? This whole zone. Very, very beautiful, right? I would have preferred to just stay above the arc, but sometimes stocks or whatever, they don't do what you prefer. But this is still a super healthy zone to be accumulating in my opinion. And I see a comment, should we stay away from them? That's the opposite of what I would do. probably aggressively adding in this zone, because this is not scary at all to me. This is something that I've been through these kind of rodeos numerous times, right? And like the last time Coinbase was stuck underneath the 786 was a long, long time, right? And now it's actually spending more time on top of the 786 than before. So this was a clear resistance zone before. Now it's really trying to be a support zone, right? Whether or not it wicks below down to the 50-week moving average or not, it doesn't matter to me, because this is clearly a chart that wants to go to all-time highs, right? It's clearly a chart that wants to go to all-time highs and beyond. So I want to be in that, and I don't want to be afraid of this price action. Whether or not Bitcoin goes to the 80s or not, it's irrelevant, because this will just go down to its further support. This is still looking beautiful for the future.
Indeed. And I see a question about Nvidia. Is Nvidia still looking strong? Yeah, Nvidia is definitely still looking very strong. Let's see. My target hasn't changed. I haven't changed it ever since we hit this, oh gosh, this high and this low. My 764 hit, this 236 hit, and now we need to get to the 1236, which is 182.63. And in this minor setup, we're just oscillating. We lost the conversion line. These are weekly candlesticks again. Lost conversion line, never touched the baseline. We got back over the conversion line. We're under the conversion line. We're oscillating around the conversion line. And this wave 4 kind of started to almost make a new high and then went back down. I don't know. See, like Nvidia, I would be buying more down here if you could. I'd buy it all the way to this baseline if it had to go that far, but I don't think it will. And then as long as it doesn't get a new lower low than, say, yeah, as long as it stays above this baseline, I like it for going higher. 182.63 is still my target higher, and then this chart goes all the way to 269 for Nvidia over many weeks. It's funny when you talk about Matt. This isn't your first rodeo. I always immediately imagine you with that Walker Texas Ranger hat on your head.
Yeehaw. but honestly,
the great Mattsby doesn't.
No, go ahead.
The great Mattsby, he doesn't wear a watch. He decides what time it
is. That's right, Chuck Norris. Yeah, it's just like people that when they feel bad, they don't want to buy. When they feel good, they want to buy. But guess what? When you feel bad, things are in the support zone. When you feel good, things are in a resistance zone. So perhaps the opposite is what you should be doing all the time, because that is really the benefit of getting all these gains, right? Getting more and more percentages is buying when you feel terrible. So I think I see a request for AMD and Tesla. I'll jump on AMD real quick. And AMD, I just wanted to show the 50-month moving average real quick. This is a monthly chart. It's at 113.22. So it's back testing that again. So it's still in the support zone with even more support below. So again, another similar situation for like Coinbase or whatever. Like on the monthly chart, when you zoom out like this, does this look like a bearish chart to you at all? No, it doesn't look like a bearish chart at all. And basically, I think it has a super great potential of holding this zone right in here, right in here, this zone right here. Right. And so again, it doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna be buying in this zone, probably more today, right? And I see a continuation higher, right? I see a continuation back to the 150s and maybe even the 300s above. So I do these setups, right? This is how I have traded successfully for years and years and years, by buying these setups all the time. Now, if this was a bearish chart, would I be buying this? No, but none of these charts are bearish. These are still very, very bullish charts, and they have a great potential for the future. So I do like AMD at these levels and a little bit lower, even down to the 100 level. I love it. So that's great. And we can see Tesla is next. So we'll go to Tesla here, and there's no change for Tesla at all, right? And it was kind of obvious how they closed Tesla too. They closed it below the weekly conversion line right there, which was 398. and it closed at 394. So obviously they were going to send it lower, right? This was an obvious close, and I actually talked about this on my weekly update, how it's even possible to go down to the 360s or 350s too, right? It is still possible because even the daily cloud, it's still kind of far away. So it could just take more time, more days, or it could just go down to the 50-day moving average, 365 or whatever. But so far, it's still holding that 886. So technically, nothing has changed from January 2nd. Nothing has changed at all from January 2nd. It's basically still in the same range, and it's just resistance is your previous all-time high. Support is the 886 here, but this is looking like a great zone still, right? From current price all the way down to the 350s. I think it's a pretty amazing opportunity for price to eventually go higher because the weekly chart, this is beautiful, right? It's a huge breakout and a tiny little back test. And I mean, for the people that, oh, it's going to go crash again, but no, this is a bullish chart now, right? See, when it was making all these lower highs here, lower high, yeah, that's the reason why it kept going lower. But now you're making higher lows, right? And now you're actually near all-time high still. See all these wicks still up here? The pre-market is still only touching most of these wicks right here too. So this is technically still building a base on top of previous all-time high zone. So this is a completely different market structure than it was during this whole time right here. Supplies that for Tesla, because this is no longer a bearish chart. So people expecting it to crash, I think they're going to be mistaken. So
yeah, I've got a very simple looking. It's another Mattsby fib retracement here. This is Tesla. I made a clean chart without a whole bunch of crazy stuff here.
oh my God,
Off this low. I know, right? I'm trying new things for 2025. From this low near 372.81 back to this high of 488. Just look for it to, if it gets below 372, I'll be very sad. But like Matt said, if given enough time into that cloud, I guess it's possible. But if it could just get back over 430 and then over 463, this thing should take off again. I mean, just looking back at the pattern here, went to the 382, then it tried that 786 one more time before it pushed it all the way down to the lowest low we've got now. And now, I guess another way of looking at it is if I look at this back from here, the next step it needs to do is just get back over 415, which is interesting because that 414.50 was the high for Tesla for the longest time. So just getting back, proving that the previous resistance is support again, will let this thing go up higher. So yeah, like Matt said, don't be afraid. If you've got more money, keep buying more Tesla or TSLL, which I love for the 2X ETF of Tesla. And then eventually we will be going higher again. And I still believe that we can hit $711 by July this year. I know it doesn't feel like it now, but like in the darkest days, it's when it's best to have a goal in mind. And so July 711, right about here. I mean, look at that. That looks doable if this price action just keeps following this trend line. There's 711 by July 21st. I said July 18th. Oh well, that's all we can get with the weekly chart. There you go. Tesla, just believe. And MicroStrategy kind of follows coin and all that. My MicroStrategy chart over here. MicroStrategy wicked through the baseline last week, but it closed above the baseline the week after that. Or I'm sorry, this was the week after that. Yeah, it closed below the baseline 2 weeks ago, but it closed above the baseline last week. And Bitcoin could make a sudden turn higher and just keep this running on up. My MicroStrategy targets get really big now because I've shown you before. I believe that all this price action that we had from down here to that recent high and then down to that terrible, awful, scary low of 285.01 was just the larger degree 1-2. So now off of that 1-2, I've got these fib extensions that go to 697, 491, 1033, 824, and then 1569. And like nobody believes my numbers until they actually start hitting. So we'll just have to go back, and you'll have to remember this, you know, in a few months from now, and say, oh yeah, tracker believed and tracker was right. Is hopefully what you'll be saying. All right. What else do we want to do? Do you want to? I could do IONQ. I see a request for IONQ. Same thing. So this one, it just all this price action topped out in 5 waves, and then retraced down to 25.93. I'm just calling all this wave 1 and a wave 2. So giving it, because before this had the 618 to 123.6 flavor, I'm going to extend that same flavor into the new projection. So instead of going to 76.4, my wave 3 sub 1 target is 5101. So just as long as we don't make a new lower low than 25.93, all these prices will hold up. Like, so it could go, you know, $36, $30, $43. It could go anywhere around here, but as long as it doesn't make a new lower low than 25.93, eventually it's going to hit 5101, drop back to 35.51, and so on and so on. Feel free to take your screenshot of IONQ there. This one goes up to 117 almost, 116.69. MViz. Oh man, I haven't looked at MViz in forever. And just take over anytime, Matt, if there's something you want to cover. I'm just grabbing things out of the list. Microvision. Let's look at this on the monthly chart for a second. Man, I used to trade this back in the day. Haven't looked at it for a while. It does not have a really great lifetime trend here. So I'd be wary of it, but it does seem to be, oh man, it built a really long base before it moved last time. What is it that people are seeing in Microvision that are making them ask about it now? I guess this on the 4-hour chart. Just be careful with these. Let me just go back to the weekly chart again. So it looks like it's trying to make a move, but you know, it can make a move and then make a new lower low. So I would say anything to do with Microvision, put your stop under this last wick, $1.15, and currently it's trading for $1.27. So, you know, if you wanted to buy a positive position, you could. Now let's just do a retrace from. Gosh, let's do a bear retrace from back here. Let's use this one, and then coming back down here, and I got to reverse it because I did the wrong direction. All right, so this one could go. Already got more than. See, it went to the 50% fib and the 236. So either it's going to go to the 886 next, or it's not going to make it. So yeah, this is what I would do. I'd say put your stop below $1.16, but you can buy it and then see if it can go. If it struggles to get over $1.74 again, then maybe take your profit and just take your leave. But if it can get over $1.74, then it probably will go to 248. After that, all bets are off. I can't tell you what it will necessarily do. I can tell you what it might want to do if it wants to recover, but it also might just spend a lot of your time dropping and trying to build more base again, or doing one of these things where it makes a blow off top and then just falls lower again. I mean, MViz, it's in penny stock category. I'm sorry I spent so much time on it for the rest of you guys. DXYZ. I love DXYZ. We were supposed to get a rocket launch this morning or this afternoon, but it looks like it got pushed back to Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So they are going to launch another. They're going to try to do a launch and catch of the Starship rocket, which DXYZ has large exposure to SpaceX. And every time they get a rocket up and a successful catch, well, they do the one time, the stock just goes bonkers. So I'm still looking for this wave 5 to finish out. Wave 3, wave 4 is done. It just needs to finish this wave 5 and then build maybe a larger base around the 66 zone before it can go higher than 114. But right now, I'd just be happy for it to go from, it's trading for, can't even see, $52.50 right now. And you can see the wicks have been hitting this bottom, this 8-hour cloud, Ichimoku cloud. And it's below the moving average 75 on the 8-hour chart. Just want to see it get back over 56.80 so it can start testing these resistances above. How bad could it get? I think the worst I would, because I haven't been doing this enough, but how bad could it get? This 50% level would be pretty bad. 46.44. Oh no, I even did a 50% would be the next worst. And then if I was wrong about this being the wave 3 top and it's actually a wave 5 top, then we could get an ABC that drops into this blue box, which I drew for you guys last week, between $44 and $36.19. This would be a 50% retrace at $44, and this would be all the 618 at $36.19. That's like if they try to launch the rocket and it like explodes on the pad. But if it doesn't explode on the pad, I think it should go to 96 next, 85, and then 114. I very much doubt it's going to explode on the pad because they're really good at getting each iterative failure behind them so they can move on to get the rocket to fail in brand new ways. All right. You've been awfully quiet, Matt. Is there anything that you're
just waiting for you?
Go ahead.
I was going to jump on a Sofi, and then I'll let you do one more too, because got to get going. But so I see Sofi, somebody saying losing support after support, but no, it's not. Like I said, the 1606 was resistance a long time ago, right? After it flipped these candles, they closed underneath it. And I said, if that gets lost, the possibility to go back down to the 618 is, and that's at 1369. But even below that is like the GAN level, which is kind of like at 1360s. So it's really at that support zone right now. So I would like to see that hold, but we got to keep in mind how extended this is. So this is still very far away from the weekly cloud, also very far away from the baseline as well. So this could even go a little bit deeper and freak everybody out. But guess what? This is still just a healthy chart. Super bullish, right? The monster breakout beyond any wildest dreams of Sofi. A big breakout, so retesting levels kind of would be normal. Even that baseline, guess what? That would be a back test of this previous high right there, that candle wick right there, right? So we got to keep that in mind when we see these kind of charts, right? Just because there's support here, it doesn't mean that it won't go to lower support. And we've seen that with many charts, even with Coinbase and Microstrategy, they went to their lower support levels. So this is always a possibility. We don't know if it's going to go to those lower levels. So therefore, these 1360s has also a good chance of holding. So I'm going to be actually accumulating in this zone. And if it goes lower, I'm probably going to be buying more. So this does not affect me at all. This is normal procedure. And that's just the way stocks are these days. They're very volatile with up and down moves. But that volatility is how you make money if you do it correctly. And I see that Tom Lee post golden parachutes. We already talked about it. How possibly it wants to go to 70 to 50, but currently I don't see that right now. I just see a wick through the 91,158, and they did open the candle above it. So for Bitcoin, can it go to the low 80s? I think that is a possibility right now, but I'm going to focus at one level at a time. And the weekly candle just opened last night, so this has the whole week to go lower, scare people, maybe even close the week back above. So I'm going to be watching this 91,158 for the week, for the weekly candle close on Sunday.
Yep.
And Tracker, which one do you want to do? You got one more?
I just want to show Sofi real quick and then do Fubo. If that's not cheating. My Sofi chart. Now, keep in mind they have earnings coming up on January 27th, and I'm watching my moving average 75 on the daily chart move, as it often does. Maybe if Sofi just kind of goes sideways, it'll reach the moving average 75 on the earnings date and then take off from there. So I think this is the kind of environment when people have been cash strapped for money and they keep losing it in the market. They're going to be going to Sofi to ask for more money. So they might have a really good earnings this quarter. Okay, not to be glib about it. Fubo. Oops, that is not Fubo. My Fubo chart, I think, so this is that Fubo TV that Disney wants to do stuff with. And, I've been doing a retrace, a larger degree retrace. I mean, this one's just kind of nuts. If it really does a big recovery, and it's had big recoveries in the past, it's spent plenty of time building a base down here. So just retracing back towards this level up here, this high of 62.29 that I had back in 2020, the 382 of that would be $24.39. So that looks kind of cool. And then getting closer to it here on the 8-hour chart. Let me just turn these into the Mattsby fibs. I've got a template called TGM for the Great Mattsby. So here it hit this high of $6.60, back down to this low of $1.35. So this $5.48 level is very important for the stock. Maybe it does one more cash grab with a crash to like 398, right around here where this baseline is. That's just a wick, and then it runs back up. Once it gets over 548, it can start running again higher. So if you want, I mean, you could just do nothing, wait for 548 to break, and then buy in. Or you could take some risk, put some risk out there, and try to buy it anywhere between now and $4. You can see the Ichimoku clouds. It's just got a sliver of support out here. This is January 29th. So I don't know, maybe it has to go sideways. Like I said, expect it to do like one mad dash before it gets over the 786 and then makes it support and moves higher. I like Fubo. I bought a bunch of it. My cost is, I don't know, it's $6, I think. I didn't wait to buy. I bought a little. I got excited because I'm still only an average trader, and I'm trying to become a better trader like Matt. All right, that's it. That's my thing for today. Oh, I've ran over 2 minutes. I'm sorry, Matt.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, that's okay.
I hope you guys have a great week. I hope today isn't too bad. Don't remember the red days are when you get excited. I'm on the same boat as a lot of you guys. I already spent my money, and now I'm just like, I just have to sit on my hands and wait. That's it. So sit on your hands. Right, don't capitulate.
Yeah, there will be brighter days, but still things are in support zones, and I got to jump on my other call now. So thank you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.